For almost 80 years, Ferrari built its entire identity around one thing: emotion. Loud engines, screaming V12s, aggressive styling, and cars that made you feel something the second you started them. So when Ferrari announced its very first fully electric car, people immediately started asking the same question: can an electric Ferrari still feel like a Ferrari? And that question is exactly why the Ferrari Luce might be one of the most controversial cars Ferrari has ever made. The Luce isn't just another Ferrari. It's Ferrari entering completely unknown territory for the first time. No gasoline engine, no roaring exhaust, no traditional Ferrari proportions. Instead, what Ferrari created looks more like a futuristic luxury spaceship than the kind of supercar people usually imagine when they hear the name Ferrari. And honestly, the internet cannot decide whether it's genius or a disaster. The name Luce means light in Italian, which already tells you a lot about the philosophy behind the car. Ferrari says the Luce is supposed to represent clarity, simplicity, and a cleaner future for the brand. But don't mistake clean for weak, because this thing is still absolutely insane. The Luce reportedly produces over 1,000 horsepower through 4 electric motors, one powering each wheel. That means all-wheel drive, instant torque, and acceleration brutal enough to embarrass most hypercars. Ferrari claims the Luce can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds, which is faster than many Ferraris powered by massive V12 engines. And despite being Ferrari's first EV, it's also reportedly the biggest Ferrari ever built. That's one of the strangest things about the Luce. It isn't a tiny, low-slung supercar like a Ferrari SF90 or LaFerrari. Instead, it's a 4-door, 5-seat Grand Tourer with an elevated ride height and enough practicality to actually use every day. Think about how crazy that is for a second. Ferrari spent decades building 2-seat exotic machines designed almost entirely around performance and emotion. Then suddenly, their first electric car arrives looking closer to a futuristic luxury crossover than a traditional supercar. It completely breaks Ferrari tradition. And that's exactly why people can't stop talking about it. One of the most interesting parts of the Luce story is the involvement of Jony Ive, the legendary designer behind products like the iPhone, iMac, and Apple Watch. Ferrari worked with Ive and his design studio Lovefrom to create both the interior and exterior of the car. You can immediately see the Apple influence everywhere. The design is extremely minimalist. Smooth surfaces, hidden details, clean lighting, almost no visual clutter. Instead of aggressive vents and dramatic body lines everywhere, the Luce looks calm and futuristic, like something designed 20 years ahead of its time. And people are divided over it. Some Ferrari fans think it looks revolutionary. Others think it barely looks like a Ferrari at all. Online discussions exploded after the reveal, with some people comparing it to a Tesla, others comparing it to a concept car, and some saying Ferrari completely lost its identity. But whether people love it or hate it, everybody agrees on one thing. It doesn't look like any Ferrari ever made before. Even the proportions are unusual. The cabin sits further forward than normal Ferraris because electric platforms. Even the proportions are unusual. The cabin sits farther forward than on normal Ferraris because electric platforms don't need giant engines taking up space in the front. That allowed Ferrari to create far more interior room than ever before, while still keeping aerodynamic performance. And the interior might actually be the most interesting part of the entire car. Most modern EVs are obsessed with giant touchscreens. Tesla basically turned dashboards into giant iPads. But Ferrari, surprisingly, went in the opposite direction. The Luce still uses physical buttons, aluminum switches, rotary controls, and tactile inputs because Ferrari wanted the car to feel emotional and mechanical instead of cold and digital. That's such an important detail because Ferrari understands something most companies don't. People don't buy Ferraris because they're practical. They buy Ferraris because of how the cars make them feel. So Ferrari tried to preserve that emotional connection, even while removing the engine entirely. The Luce reportedly includes systems designed to recreate mechanical sensations and vibrations, so the car doesn't feel unnaturally silent. Ferrari engineers apparently worried that complete silence would make the experience feel emotionally empty. And honestly, that's probably Ferrari's biggest challenge with this car. Ferrari engines are legendary. The sound of a Ferrari V12 screaming through a tunnel is part of automotive culture itself. Taking that away feels almost impossible for some enthusiasts to accept. That's why Ferrari isn't trying to pretend the Luce is just another EV. They're trying to make it feel like an entirely new type of Ferrari.
The specs are still ridiculous, though. The Luce reportedly uses a massive 122 kilowatt-hour battery pack with an estimated range of over 300 miles, depending on testing standards. It also supports ultra-fast charging at up to 350 kilowatts, meaning charging times should be surprisingly quick for a car this powerful. And then there's the top speed. Ferrari says the Luce can exceed 190 miles per hour. That's absurd for a large electric luxury Grand Tour. And because electric motors deliver power instantly, the acceleration is supposed to feel violent. No waiting for gears, no turbo lag, just instant torque smashing you into the seat the second you touch the accelerator. But maybe the craziest part of the entire Luce story is the price. The Luce reportedly starts at around 550,000 euros, roughly $640,000. That means Ferrari is entering the EV world at the absolute highest level possible. They're not trying to compete with Tesla Model S owners. They're targeting ultra-wealthy buyers who want something futuristic, exclusive, and unlike anything else on the road. And Ferrari clearly believes the future luxury buyer will care less about traditional engines and more about technology, design, and innovation. That's actually one reason Ferrari chose such a radical design direction. The company reportedly wants to attract younger, wealthy buyers, people who grew up surrounded by technology and electric devices rather than classic combustion engines. In a weird way, the Luce feels less like Ferrari adapting to the electric era and more like Ferrari trying to redefine what a luxury performance car even is. And honestly, you can already see how risky this move is. Ferrari's stock reportedly dropped after the reveal because investors and fans were so divided on the design. Some analysts called it bold and visionary, while others thought Ferrari had moved too far away from its roots. But Ferrari has always taken risks. People once thought SUVs would destroy the Ferrari brand too, and then the Puro Sangue became one of the most talked about luxury vehicles in the world. Now, Ferrari is taking another gamble, except this time, the stakes are much bigger because electric power changes the entire identity of the brand. And maybe that's what makes the Luce so fascinating. It isn't just a new Ferrari. It's Ferrari trying to survive the future without losing its soul. Some people will hate it because it doesn't sound like the Ferraris they grew up loving. Others will love it because it feels like the first true luxury EV designed with real emotion instead of just technology. But either way, the Ferrari Luce already accomplished something important. It got the entire car world talking.